Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Jesus Encounter series. Good to see everybody joining us. Hopefully, you got your handouts for tonight. And we've got a special surprise tonight. A special guest teacher, Jackie Goss, is going to be bringing the rich young ruler. I'll be talking about the lawyer encounters Jesus. But tonight, brothers and sisters, you may remember 2 weeks ago when we last met, we had the sinful woman and the woman caught in adultery. That's right, it was Bad Girls edition. And tonight, wouldn't you know, tonight, the Bad Boys edition. But just like with the bad girls, Jesus didn't treat them as bad girls, but the religious leaders treated those two women as bad girls. Now, tonight, we've got two men, and I'm calling them bad boys, but in the eyes of all the people, these would have been good boys, good guys. These are the good guys. These are the people that have lived clean lives. These are the people that are examples to follow in the Jewish community. We've got a ruler which sits on the Sanhedrin, the Jewish body, the Jewish ruling body of 70 people. He's a ruler, so he's on the Sanhedrin. This man is an expert in the law of Moses. He probably has a lot of it memorized. That's his specialty. So why am I calling these two men bad boys? Because these are our first two Jesus encounters that do not end with the person recognizing Jesus as the Messiah and the King of the Jews. They both leave their encounters with Jesus with new information about themselves that Jesus gives them, but they seemingly leave Jesus unchanged. Now, we don't know what was going in their minds and their hearts, and I hope, now think about this, Jesus has the words of eternal life, right? Both of these men come to Jesus and ask the identical question. I didn't even know this was a thing until I studied this lesson. They both come to Jesus and they ask the identical question, what must I do to inherit eternal life? They both ask Jesus that. And he gives them the answer. It's very similar for each of them, but they're going to respond differently. So I'm calling them the bad boys because even though in society they're good guys, they walk away from Jesus seemingly unchanged. And we're going to have two more Jesus encounters at the end of this series, lesson number 12, two more that are not converted to Jesus. They don't become followers of Jesus. That's Pontius Pilate and Herod Antipas. Right at the end, right before Jesus' crucifixion, they have encounters with Jesus, but it doesn't seem to change them like it changes all the other people that we're studying about. So that's our Bad Boys edition tonight. They both come to Jesus with clean records of keeping the law, but they leave without a positive outcome. So in both of these encounters, we see that Jesus is reaching for these men because he tells them plainly what they have to do to inherit eternal life. He answers their questions. But come to find out, they didn't really want to know the answer because they don't act on the answer that Jesus gives them. So both of these good guys ask, what do I do to inherit eternal life? And basically the answer that Jesus gives them is you can't earn it. But God gives eternal life when your relationship with him is correct, is proper. When you have a right relationship with the Lord, he gives eternal life. It's not because you fulfilled requirements, because then it's works-based and it's based on you. So Jesus is going to tell them, but they're both trying to earn their salvation. And that's why they asked Jesus, what do I have to do to inherit eternal life? Not how do I get eternal life, but what do I have to do? In other words, how do I earn it? How do I make it happen for myself? And basically, Jesus says in so many words, get your relationship with God right. And that's the answer to finding eternal life, not fulfilling a checklist. All right, so that's in both of these encounters. I never realized how similar they were till I studied for this lesson. So now our guest teacher, Jackie Goss, is going to come and present our first encounter tonight.